Hi guys, this is video 1 for Monday, September 21st. We're going to be studying the neurophysiology of worship. But we're going to start with what may be the oldest story in the Bible, the oldest book in the Bible, and that's Job. I'm going to skip around in it. But it says, in the land of Uz, there lived a man whose name was Job. The man was blameless and upright. He feared God and shunned evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. And he owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys, and had a large number of servants. He was the greatest man among all the people of the East. So this man is incredibly wealthy. He's righteous and upright. But it says, a few verses down, one day the angels came to present themselves before the Lord, and the accuser was among them. The Lord said to the accuser, "Where have you come from?" And the accuser answered and said, "From roaming through the earth and going back and forth in it." Then the Lord said to him, "Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one on earth like him. He is blameless and upright, a man who fears God and shuns evil." "Does Job fear God for nothing?" the accuser replied. "Have you not put a hedge around him and his household and everything he has? You've blessed the work of his hands, so that his flocks and herds are spread throughout the land. But stretch out your hand and strike everything he has. He will surely curse you to your face." The Lord said to him, "Very well then. Everything he has is in your hands, but on the man himself do not lay a finger." And the accuser went out from the presence of the Lord. Well, Job lost everything. All the sheep were gone. All the animals were gone. Everything he owned was gone. His sons and daughters were gone. His house was gone. And it says here, "Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the oldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them. They are all dead, and I'm the only one who has escaped to tell you." At this, Job got up, tore his robe, and shaved his head. These were traditional signs of grieving, of mourning. Then he fell to the ground in worship and said, "Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised." Whoa. Could you do that? I couldn't. In all this, it says Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. It gets worse. Over time, he is covered in boils. Now, if you've never had a boil, you do not know what misery is. They hurt. Oh, I don't know how, I was a little kid when I had a couple of them, and I still remember them. But they're sores, and they get very big, and they're just monstrous. It says he even had them on the soles of his feet. Now, the traditional mourning at that time of grieving was you would wear sackcloth, kind of like burlap, and pour ashes over your head. So here he is sitting in the ashes. And it says, then Job took a piece of broken pottery and scraped himself with it as he sat among the ashes. His wife said to him, "Are you still holding on to your integrity? Curse God and die." He replied, "You're talking like a foolish woman. Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?" Basically, he said, I don't understand what's going on. I don't have a clue, but I will continue to trust God. Something was going on in his brain. Now, your brain is the most powerful computer anywhere around. You could put all the computers in the world together and they will not equal the number of connections that your brain has. We call them synapses. They're little bits that come close together in your brain, but they don't touch. And so tiny electrical currents can pass between them. So everything that we see, everything you're seeing right now on this screen is being interpreted by these tiny electrical currents running through your brain. And what you see may or may not be real, depending on whether or not your brain is functioning correctly. The human brain, Jesus has some incredible power. In Matthew, a woman comes to him and touches the hem of his robe, and he says, your faith has healed you. Almost every time when somebody was healed, he said, your faith has healed you. He does not say, I healed you. He says, your faith has healed you. Is it possible that there is so much in the brain that we still don't understand, that there is the capability in our brains to heal the body? I think there is. I haven't tapped into it. I don't know how. But I think there is. So the science of the brain is, we like to think we know a lot about it, but we don't. We can't even define what consciousness is. We cannot define what the mind is. We can't really define what thought is. Now, we are not the only thinking creatures on this planet. There are some other fairly intelligent species. But as far as we can tell, we are the only ones who can plan rather far into the future. And here's where it gets ridiculous, because none of us can see 1 second into the future. Which is why the longer we plan, the farther out we plan, the more likely it is to go wrong. There's an old Jewish saying that says, you want to hear God laugh? Tell him your plans. Yeah, I've told God my plans a lot of times, and I've heard a lot of laughter. God says, no, I've got other plans for you. And so we look at stories like Job, and we wonder, how can this man do this? Think about it. Some people are victims. Some people are victors. Same circumstance. Same exact circumstance. One person will say, oh, poor me. The other one will say, I shall overcome. Nothing is going to stop me. What's the difference? Something in the brain functions differently in those two people. We don't know what. We don't know exactly what it is. We know that when somebody is depressed, that certain parts of the brain begin to malfunction. The synapses don't fire correctly, and they begin to focus on the negative. And they have a very difficult time even finding the positive, let alone recognizing it. Yet others are continually happy and never give in to the negative. They look at it and say, no big deal. We say, well, that's just a difference in personality. But what is it about the brain? We know that certain areas of the brain deal with certain functions. Language, that's the prefrontal lobe. That's the front of the brain. love of chocolate, wine, sex. That is the amygdala. That is the lizard part of the brain. The brain has 3 layers. The amygdala is the smallest one. It regulates breathing. It regulates heartbeat. It is the most basic of parts of the brain. It basically is what keeps us alive. It deals with our most basic instincts. And pleasure is one of those instincts. What is memory? Seriously, what is memory? We like to say, well, I can remember that. I can see that like it was just a moment ago. No, you can't. Because every time you access a memory, it changes. You don't notice it. You believe it's the truth. But it changes. There's scientific proof of this. I've been studying this one for a long time, too. And it's one of those things where you have to question memory now and then. Have you ever swore that you were right about something, you remembered it, and then suddenly discovered you were wrong? If you haven't, you will. It's disconcerting. Or 2 of you who were at the same place, the same time, experienced the same thing, 2 months later are talking about it, and you tell 2 completely different stories. So one of you lying? Probably not. It's the way your brain stored the memory. And it doesn't store it in neat little package. Here's your memory of your 11th birthday. Here's your memory of this. No, they're scattered throughout parts of the brain. And so when you recall them, you're pulling them up from a million different places in the brain. So memory is plastic. It's elastic. It can be stretched. It can be changed. One I learned a long time ago from Professor Elizabeth Loftus at the University of Washington, how to change somebody's memory of something. I'm serious. It's possible. So that they believe it is true. I actually saw it done. She demonstrated it several times, and people swore they were absolutely correct. And what they did is they showed a video, several videos, and then she asked them some questions. And the way she phrased the questions shaped their memories. So when she tested them later, the shaped memories did not agree with the videos at all. And they were amazed when they discovered that they were wrong. Or maybe you've seen the video, there's these people dancing on stage, and a man in a gorilla suit walks across the entire stage behind them, and nobody notices them. Why not? Focus is on the front there. The brain can only focus on one thing at a time. This thing about multitasking is false. It does not exist. Which is why when we say study, we mean focus for a concentrated period of time. That way the brain actually picks up information and stores it and keeps it. But if you're trying to do 5 different things at the same time, carry on a conversation, listen to music, watch TV, play video games, and at the same time work on your homework's not going to be very good because you're not concentrating on it. So I hope I've gotten your interest up a little bit. I'm uploading a paper that is going to be of interest to you. It's called the, where is it? Of course I left it over on my desk. Here we go. The neurophysiological benefits of worship. As worship leaders, you're wondering, why this brain stuff? Well, you're going to find out, because it turns out that worship has a very positive effect on the brain and on the body. Serious. Worship can truly be healing. So let this one digest a little bit, and then come back and get the second installment of this, and we'll go through the paper. In the meantime, go ahead and download it. It is there.